That snow causing some pretty serious damage on the Market Street building. Let me show you what's going on here. You can see the back wall. After seeing more than 400 pieces of evidence and listening to the testimony of over 50 witnesses, the jury in the Kevin Quick murder trial is finally deliberating. Now, attorneys, last I checked, are still inside the courtroom trying to iron out the details. He says we're looking at 3 different options. 1, Dewberry Capital finishes the Landmark Hotel. 2, that they find another use for the structure. We begin with Charlottesville news first tonight. An area business in trouble after a car drives into the side of the building. 2 convicted murderers are asking for an acquittal, or at the very least a new trial. I've heard some criticisms from people who say because the arrest was technically legal that in fact you might be taking advantage of what happened, and I was wondering how you would respond to that. Dan and Tara, it's every parent's worst nightmare learning that your daughter was the victim of a violent killer. I spoke with one former student at PVCC who says if it wasn't for the financial help he got, he wouldn't have been able to turn his life around.
We have a very special edition of Finding Food this week. CBS 19's Tomas Harmon has family in Cuba and he went to go visit them.
But Tomas wasn't able to get his whole filming equipment through customs, so he filmed this entire Finding Food on his iPhone and gives us a first-hand look at the island and food of Cuba.
This is modern-day Havana, a bustling city still frozen in 1959 after the communist takeover by Fidel Castro. But its people continue to push forward. And cars built in the 50s still running today. In recent years, Havana has improved significantly thanks to a steady flow of tourists from places like Canada, Argentina, and Russia who come to Cuba to enjoy some major tourist attractions like La Floridita, the bar in Old Havana where Ernest Hemingway invented the daiquiri. But as Cuba molds itself into a new tourist hotspot, its authenticity starts to fade, which is why I went with my cousin Eugel some 278 miles east of Havana on back roads and crumbling highways to the town of Moron, known for its gallo, a cast iron rooster that has come to symbolize the town's spirit. Outside of Havana, the island of Cuba is much more humble. The houses are more functional than beautiful, and only a few people can afford cars. But Cubans still manage to smile, especially when they're eating, which is why we went to Don Papas, the top restaurant in Moron, and as real as it gets to true Cuban food. Don Papas is a typical Cuban restaurant. There are no windows and the tablecloths are made of plastic. On the wall hangs a picture of Fidel Castro over a Cuban flag, and underneath that, a boombox that plays reggaeton music. But despite its modest appearance, the food is some of the best I've ever had. On the other side of a retaining wall resides an open-air kitchen, where the restaurant prepares what little food there is on the island for its hungry guests. Today's special, and the only thing available on the menu, chuleta de cerdo, pork chops. The pork chops, seasoned in the open air, are cooked on a makeshift grill while feet away. Rice is picked clean of stones on the same table where the restaurant counts its money. Or when the plate is brought to the table filled with yuca in the middle, congria on top, and cerdo on the side, it's easy to forget you're thousands of miles from home in the heart of a communist country. Especially when the band starts to play their own Cuban rendition of the Beatles. In Havana, Tomas Harmon, CBS 19 News. Dan and Tara, Matthew pleaded guilty to the murders of Hannah Graham and Morgan Harrington 4 weeks ago, and now he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. But it's possible Matthew's life may be better at Red Onion State Prison than it was at our local jail. It's likely the last time Jesse Matthew will ever be seen in public again. Matthew is now serving his 7 life sentences for 2 murders and a rape at the Red Onion State Prison in the southwest corner of Virginia. And that's good news for the Albemarle-Charlottesville Regional Jail. Anytime you have a high-profile inmate here, it takes away from staff time to deal with both the public and the individual who's here. And it's difficult to house those individuals here sometimes, too. For the last several months, this has been Matthew's home. Housed inside, Matthew has been isolated and kept away from other inmates. But now that he is at Red Onion, that will change. They have significantly more recreation programs. They have large outdoor recreation facilities. They have educational programs. They can offer 4-year degrees, several 2-year vocational degrees there, a lot of online programs.
It's just a lot more resources in DOC facilities as opposed to local or smaller regional jails.
Now that Jesse Matthew is getting out of this place, his standard of living may improve. He may get to spend more time outside, interact with other inmates, even get an education. But unlike a lot of inmates, Jesse Matthew has a target on his back.
He was still a high-profile case, a very heinous crime. Individuals, the vigilante justice issue is still there, even in Department of Corrections. So I'm sure they'll take steps to protect him from other inmates, at least initially.
As for the improved standard of living for Matthew, in the long run, it makes him an easier inmate to work with.
They can do harm to themselves, harm to staff, harm to property. So if you give them things to look forward to or give them things to occupy their time, they can be easier to manage in an environment. And that goes to the employees who have to work with those people. And again, they're still human beings regardless of what they've done.
Now, Red Onion State Prison is a level S facility. That means only the most violent of inmates go there. We did reach out to the prison to learn more about Matthew's future, but they have yet to get back to us for a comment. Reporting live in the Newsplex, Tomas Harmon, CBS 19 News.
CBS 19's Tomas Harmon is live at the Landmark with details on what's happening today. Tomas?
Dan, the area around the Landmark Hotel closed off last night because objects inside of the structure were threatening the public safety of the area. Obviously very frightening for businesses who up until now have considered the Landmark structure a harmless eyesore.
It's been this way since we opened last year, and it's been this way for much longer than that. So I guess we don't really think about it too much. It's kind of just a funny conversation piece, mostly.
Zeta Dowdy works at Jack Brown's, a business that lives in the shadow of the Landmark Hotel structure. A funny eyesore until Thursday night.
This was really a very busy scene last night. There was a fire truck, there were a lot of officers here, and we determined that the public safety threat of this building was so extreme that the fire department needed to go in last night to secure debris.
Debris blown loose in the wind, dangling over the side of the Landmark Hotel and threatening businesses below like Jack Brown's.
It was kind of disturbing when things were actually falling off the building yesterday.
The area around the Landmark taped off by city police to keep people back from getting hurt.
There was in an open doorway up there, there was a very tall metal door frame that was swinging off of one of its hinges over the building. And so this is because this stuff has been left exposed for years in the weather, and there's been a policy of neglect by the owner.
Mayor Signer made the call to send city fire crews into the building Thursday after a piece of the building had fallen off and struck the CVS pharmacy on Wednesday night. On Friday, Marshall Contracting was in the structure, hired by the owner of the Landmark, Dewberry Capital, to secure the building. But Thursday night's ordeal has put Dewberry Capital in hot water with the city of Charlottesville.
This fact that there's now a manifest public safety threat is a very important legal fact for the city to have and to know about. It makes it even more urgent that either we take care of this building or the landowner does, but something has to happen in very quick order because there could be more dangers just like this. Dangers that has businesses next door scratching their heads.
I'm surprised that nothing's been done about it yet, officially, you know, that it's still there and still in the same, still has a coming spring 2009 sign on it. It's pretty ridiculous.
Dewberry Capital has not responded to requests by CBS 19 for comment, but as far as the city is concerned, last night was the final straw.
I'm just so glad, thank God, that nobody was hurt last night, and I'm glad that the city's finest were able to go into the building and secure it. But that doesn't mean that this is finished by any means.
Also spoke to Mayor Signer about possible outcomes for the structure behind me. He says we're looking at 3 different options. 1, Dewberry Capital finishes the Landmark Hotel. 2, that they find another use for the structure. Or 3, the entire thing comes down. I also spoke to the Downtown Business Association, who says they're going to be talking about the Landmark Hotel in their next meeting. Reporting live in Charlottesville, Tomas Harmon, CBS 19 News.